before I completely drive you crazy with how much I love that character, let me take a quick look at the guys. Let's look at the traditional Stormtrooper. Now, as I mentioned, this one does have a second head which you can place on, which is the Luke head. And it's a good likeness, and I'm sorry I don't have it with me. I probably should have brought it, I wasn't thinking. This one has a minor amount of posability as well. This arm is slightly adjustable. Not a great deal. As I said, these are statues, but they do have some flexibility for adjustment. And there's some really nice work here in the hand. I particularly like the blaster. I believe this would be the carbine blaster. There's a good holster for it over here, although that holster actually accommodates the pistol better than the carbine. You can slide it. I don't think you can see necessarily here, but it can hold this to some extent, but I think it's better suited for a pistol. So if you have any of the other, such as the Bespin Luke, which we've covered before, any of the other ones, I think that those fit in pretty well. Coming back to here, it's got a good pose. You can look at the base, and I think that any true fan of the original trilogy, particularly Episode 4, from which this is sculpted, will recognize that this is a recreation of the texture is a recreation of the hallway outside of the interrogation chamber where they rescue Princess Leia Organa. It's pretty cool. It's simple. It's amongst the simpler, really, of the sculpts they've done in terms of base. Normally, Kotobukiya does a really good job with their bases. As noted in the Commander Bly, which I showed you, and in the Scout Trooper I'm going to show you, they do really nice work with it. I like this one too, but it's clear that what they're going for is more authenticity than complexity. So it's a clean, easy, approachable base. I believe it links up with a couple of the other statues. One nice thing Kotobukiya does is a lot of what they put together is meant to work as part of a more complex whole. So it certainly is amongst the more simple of them, but it looks good, and particularly given the contrast of just the stark white of his outfit. So whether you want him to be Luke on a rescue mission, or whether you want him to be a Stormtrooper who's kind of in a cautionary pose preparing to bring his carbine to bear, either way, it's a nice addition. Now, the last guy I want to check for this particular round of cool geeky things is the Scout Trooper. These guys are sweet. I mean, who didn't love watching them race around on the speeders in Return of the Jedi? That was like one of my favorite things. Now, granted, I would have liked if they would have run over a couple Ewoks while they were doing it, you know, a little collateral damage. But regardless, these guys are great. And next to the Snow Troopers from Hoth, really are my favorites. So I'm going to just take a couple minutes real quick to go over this. First off, this guy has a pretty much quintessential scout pose. When you have him sitting there, and let me just put him back. These have I assume you've noticed this, but these have pegs in the base to position them. Doesn't mean, some of them won't stand without them. I mean, some of them, such as Bly, you do want to position into their pegs. They are statues, they aren't figures, you aren't going to get a lot of freestanding posability out of them. So it's good to go ahead and make use of the base. But this particular fellow, with the way he's modeled, can stand just about anywhere. I don't know why you'd want to take him off the base because it looks so good, but if you did, you have that option. Now, coming in on him, let's take a quick look at him. First off, I think the modeling of the face is great. And well, first off, I think the pose is great. You know, he's kind of crouched down, he's ready to spring for it. He's obviously been scouting, and he's pulling his blaster from his boot holster, which is right here. You can see he's pulling it. And it just suggests to me, the entire pose, that he's kind of lunging up and getting ready to launch an attack on the rebels, or catch some unsuspecting Ewok. I don't know what he's doing, but this entire pose is very dramatic and suggests to me that he's just, you know, up to no good, which is essentially what a Stormtrooper should always be up to, right? There's some nice detail work, particularly in the base. Let me see if I can give you a better shot. I'm going to turn him real quick so you can see the base a little better. You can see it's got that earthy texture, kind of like we saw with Commander Bly. One nice thing about him I particularly like, I'm going to take him off his base to show you this, is I think they did an absolutely fantastic job on the mud on his boots. And let's see if I can give you a good look there. the way they've painted it to suggest that he's been trouncing through the mud of Endor is just fantastic to me. I mean, it looks really good. Heavier along the base here, splattered around the sides. If you come over here to his knees, you can see that they've got, it's coated in there. It's he's obviously been in some rough terrain. You can see it also on his arms to an extent. I mean, this is a scout who is not fresh out of the base. You know, he's been out doing his job and is ready to report back, I would think. But I don't know. Maybe I am overthinking what his motivation is. Regardless, this is a really great statue, and definitely one of my favorites, and one that I personally think it's one of the 5 best that Kotobukiya did in the Star Wars line. And that kind of wraps up what we have to say about the Stormtroopers. Now, as I mentioned, we also have the Desert Trooper included in this, and we also have the Snow Trooper, and I love both of those. However, for time's sake, I kind of want to focus on a couple of the ones that weren't as well known. So, hope you've enjoyed this. If you want to take a look at these or the Snow or the Sand Trooper in greater detail, like I said, check out tfa.com. It's www.tfaw.com, and check out our holiday Kotobukiya sale. All the Star Wars Kotos that we have in the holiday Kotobukiya sale, we have close-up rotating 360-degree views of. So you can look at it from every angle, see if it works for you. We really appreciate you taking the time to join us today, and hope that you'll take a greater look at this. Remember, whatever you're into, we've got just the thing for your collection over at tfa.com. And until next time, keep geeking.